Welcome back. I'm Ken, Newcastle United supporter, and this is my scrapbook. Today we're going to look at the Barcelona experience in the UEFA Champions League. It was a lovely evening on Tyneside, as you will see, and we were looking to deliver another famous European evening following the 1997 and a couple of years ago when we beat PSG 4-1. Anthony Gordon was available despite being suspended in the Premiership League. Join me, shall you? Prior to the match, a number of players had a few things to say. Dan Burns, in particular, was looking back at 2 years ago, knowing that we now belong on this stage and that the fans won't let us down with the atmosphere. It can make all the difference, he said, fans and players. Let's make it PSG 2.0, he said. As you know, Bobby Robson managed both clubs, and it's a tradition for the Newcastle United fans to gather outside the statues of legends, club legends like Alan Shearer and Sir Bobby at the Gallowgate end before every game. Tonight, ahead of the mouth-watering Champions League meeting between Newcastle and Barcelona, supporters of both teams congregated around the statue and celebrated all of the great things that Sir Bobby Robson brought to Barcelona and Newcastle United. A Geordie legend who managed Newcastle, Robson also was revered in Barcelona, notably for the European Cup Winners' Cup in '97, of which a certain Jose Mourinho was a key member of Bobby's backroom staff, acting as an interpreter. And back the same time in '97, Tino Asprilla, who's the guest of honour tonight at the match, produced a wonderful hat-trick, ably supported by the rest of the team and Gillespie, hitting a hat-trick back in the day. Our club captain before the match also had things to say, and he said, when I signed, I never thought I'd be able to go into any restaurant in the city and never have to pay the bill. He never thought that. Surprise, he never pays a bill. I never thought this love affair with the fans would happen when I signed for the club. It's been better than I thought it would be. And then finally, when I put the shirt on, I try to play like a Geordie. We've been together 3.5 years and everything has been amazing. I hope for this to continue. And he also said that we belong on this stage and we fear no one. So the teams were announced an hour and 15 minutes before the kickoff on Thursday evening. And Eddie Howe made a couple of big changes which surprised a lot of us. But it was in keeping with the way that he's introduced new players, especially ones that have not played in the Premier League before. So Big Nick was put back on the bench. He did suffer cramp in the Wolves match after about 55 minutes. And along on the bench went Jacob Murphy, who created the goal, wonderful cross for him at the weekend. So coming in was Anthony Gordon and Anthony Elanga into the side. Gordon currently serving a domestic ban, but he is eligible to play in the Champions League. And he replaced the record signing Nick starting as our centre forward, although he's not a centre forward, as we all know. Elanga also replaced Jacob Murphy, and however, there will be a very different sort of game because we've basically got 3 very fast players up front, but not a centre forward. So no recognised striker, but they were clearly looking to target Barcelona's high line after recalling both Anthonys actually, who are both rapid. So big night for both defences were coming up, and Nick was on the bench, and could he be our super sub later in the game? So let's see how we got on. So Barcelona were without Yamal, the young player who's stormed um, onto our TV screens over the last couple of years. What a player. But they still had plenty of firepower up front with the Polish centre forward and the Brazilian Rafinha, Torres and Lopez as well from Spain. And not to mention Marcus Rashford, which obviously, if you know the score and you're still watching this video, then you know what a pain in the arse he became. He played his best game for 2.5 years, probably, against Newcastle last night. He scored two really, really good goals. So it was all set up for a potential classic. If you don't know the score, you do now. And this is why we support the team. Nights like this are priceless. And what Flags put on, one hell of a display. I've got a number of pictures coming up. On this screen, you can see the players lining up for their team photo, which is a tradition on European nights. And then the backdrop to that was what War Flags put out, back in black and white. So let's take a look at how the match was played out. Obviously, we lost 2-1. In the 5th minute, Gordon had a big miss from a Elanga cross and cut back. In the 7th minute, Barnes was through on goal and put it wide of the post. Any other day, one of those would have probably gone in, but not tonight. In 23 minutes, we had another great break. Barnes was at the far post and he hit it well, and the goalie saved it well. 45 minutes came and we were 0-0. So excellent first half. We just lacked the cutting edge. Elanga having a very good game, attacking down the right multiple times. Another day and we would be 2 or 3 up. Second half, it was a different story, to be honest. Barcelona controlled the possession and created the chances and beat our midfield, and our midfield were good. In the 53rd minute, great move ending with a powerful shot from Tonali, which was saved. And then 4 minutes later, 57 minutes, Rashford, cross, goal, header, caught on the counter-attack, basically. In 61 minutes, Eddie decided to make a triple change. In fact, it turned out to be we changed 4 players because Shah had been down with another of his usual head injuries and had to go off and was replaced by Chow. But at the same time, Nick Murphy and Willett came on. Joe Linton went off, having carried a yellow card from the first half, and no doubt would probably have got a second yellow card at some point in the second half, which would have really spoilt the night. So Barnes came off, Gordon went out to the wing, Nick came on, proper centre forward. This is what we should be doing going forward. And obviously Murphy came on for Barnes. But 5 minutes later, Rashford scored a worldy goal. What a strike. From outside the box into the top corner, hitting the bins. And felt deflated at that point. Slightly frustrated that we were 2-0 down. Obviously, Shah was, when Rashford scored his header, was struggling from his earlier head knock and possibly shouldn't have been on the pitch or didn't know where he was. But there you go. It's Newcastle United, folks. 73 minutes, nice move ending with Bruno shot on target, volleyed over. And then we went all the way through to the 89th minute. Murphy down the right. Well, we've heard that quite often, haven't we? Crosses. Oh, we definitely heard that before. And Gordon put it into the net, coming in from the wing, ghosting in the right spot at the right time and putting it back the goal, past the goalie, along the floor. Brilliant. So 7 minutes of extra time, what could we do? Well, we couldn't get the ball off of Barcelona. That was the biggest problem. Their control of the ball and passing led to them winning this match, in my view, in the second half. But we still had one last shot. Tonali, it was saved. Great shot, game over. But there you go. It is what it is. On the screen, you can see some sofa score stats. Their Pope is our player of the match. Can't really agree with that. I'd still go down the Tonali route most of the time. Although I say our midfield did struggle in the second half. It was a tough game for them. And you can see from the attack momentum, it pretty much followed what I've just described. And we can hold our heads up high. We competed, and another day we would have been 2 up in about 10 minutes. And as you can see, the war flags did us really, really proud. Quick look in a bit more detail of the sofa scores. And for Newcastle, I've not bothered with Barcelona. I don't really care. And even the subs were marked on sofa score, with a bunch, 4 of them coming on in about the 62nd minute or so, and then Sven Botman coming on for Trippier, who basically I think he had cramp or pulled muscle, I'm not sure. Probably Jacob Murphy got the 7 in green there. The rest of them were struggling to get into the game. I did like Chow. I thought he looked good, but SofaScore marked him down at a 6-3. Not sure why. And again with Nick 6-4, I think Nick made a difference, having a proper centre forward. Let's hope we can be fit enough to play a couple of matches, 2 out of 3, and then play Asula. Let's forget the Elanga and Gordon options. Let's just go for a proper centre forward next time. So post-match, Barcelona manager Hansi Flick was up first on TNT Sports. He thought it was fantastic atmosphere. We saw how Newcastle were playing with high intensity, he said. It's what we expected. We had the confidence and belief in our strengths. It was very important to get 3 points from the beginning of the season. Last year we lost to Monaco. It helps us to get better and better. We always see this from Rashford in training, and we saw it today. Well, I can tell him that we didn't see it. He played slightly better at Villa. He was rubbish at Man U for the last 2 years. So obviously Hansi was very happy with Rashford and his 2 goals, and it was important for their confidence. These goals are unbelievable for him and for his next steps. So if we look at Dion Dublin, he said Newcastle outstanding, but Barcelona nicked it. Pretty much true. Again, we need to play better in the second half, but we ran our socks off in the first, and we could have been, like I say, 2 or 3 up. Dion thought, I think Barcelona in the end seemed to wear Newcastle down with their patience and getting it in the right area. Every single teammate had an option when they were on the ball. That's not untrue. We didn't seem to be able to put 2 or 3 passes together except for the goal in the second half. First half it was slightly different. We had our chances, Dublin said, and we probably allowed Barca to get into the game, which is very true. And then on tonight's performance, Eddie said, disappointing. We were really in the game. I never felt we were out of it. I'm disappointed we didn't score the first goal, and that was crucial. Very, very true. He said we wanted to create a difficult environment with high-octane football. I think it was there. We didn't get the bounce of the ball off of the presses, which is very true. We didn't even get the second ball most of the time. So the chances, Eddie said, were there in the first time. first half, but against teams like this, you don't get money or you get punished, and we got punished, of course, later on. Overall, he thought it was a good performance, strong effort. These nights are only magical for us if we win, but we will learn and grow our game from nights like this. We kept going until the end. That's what we pride ourselves on. They managed the extra time well. We were desperate for the ball, but we just couldn't get it. Very, very true. Anthony Gordon was also interviewed after the match. He said, we got the goal, which is testament to our mentality. A really tough game, top team we played against. I felt we had better moments, but they kept possession. They made it really difficult for us to do our usual press, and they controlled the game through that. They did very well at keeping the ball. Pedri and De Jong were fantastic, he thought. And it's a top level. Rashford scored 2 goals out of nowhere. It's got to be the same for us and take the opportunities when they present themselves to us. So that's natural, being human beings. 2-0 down to Barca feels like an uphill battle. We got the goal, which is testament to our mentality. We were knackered. He looked knackered, actually. We can be proud of how we played. We gave it our best against one of the top teams on the planet. I didn't think there was much in the game. We had better moments, but we need to put them away. So the montage of pictures there from the evening. Gordon holding his head. Barnes through, just putting it wide of the goalie early on. War Flags doing that, and the crowd doing exceptional. The atmosphere was fantastic. Even if a few tourists got into the game, including some Spaniards in the Newcastle ends and a few Chinamen, as Keith pointed out. So there you go. 7 more matches to play in the Champions League, and we started out very, very close to getting a point, but it wasn't to be on this evening. Magical nights as they are, and looking forward to the next ones. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, especially if you got to the end. This is my scrapbook, and I intend to share it this season on YouTube and share my thoughts and my opinions. Everybody's got opinions and are allowed to have opinions. So if you do and you've got any thoughts, put them down in the comments below. As I say, really appreciate you all watching the video, and hopefully it'll bring back some good memories, even though we lost. Take care. Away the lads and lasses.